Welcome back. This subject is too important not to make another video on it. I'll probably make more videos on it anyway, but learning what I learned over the years about ancient Sumeria and ancient Egypt and the texts that tell us about the time before time. In other words, at some point we didn't bother keeping time. Humanity didn't keep time in the way we do now, because we didn't have a timepiece in the sky, i.e. the sun, day and night, 24 hours, all of that. Um, we lived in Proto-Saturn's influence inside its corona. Um, as it was going through deep space, it had a huge corona, and we lived inside that. The time before the Zep-Tepi, before time, or the first time, describes, an ultraviolet uh, envelope that we lived in, purple haze or whatever, um, and it had Mars in there as well, and Saturn was in the northern sky along with Mars, and we're aligned with our north poles all the way along in a very strange configuration. Um, I'm pretty sure it was by design, by ancient, really ancient aliens, the Els, as described in Lemuria texts. Um, they were the first people on Earth, and they ascended basically. Some of them stayed and kept doing the job that they were doing, that they were tasked to do, which was watch over life on this planet, this solar system. And when it entered into our sun's influence, it Saturn spat out Venus fully formed as a planet, and it was a cometary body because of its different charge. If you go to the Electric Universe, their YouTube channel is called Thunderbolts Project, and watch three videos. One called Remembering the End of the World, the other one called Symbols of an Alien Sky, and the last one is Thunderbolts of the Gods. In those videos, it shows that we were in this proto-Saturnian system going through deep space. At some point, the sun captured Saturn and the bodies that were along with it, and it kind of mirrors the Sumerian text, except for one thing. It doesn't say that we were Nibiru. um, Basically, I think that what happened is when Saturn came into this solar system and it knocked a body out, and that's described as Nibiru, and basically slammed into a planet that was here already and give us what we call the asteroid belt today. Um, the, um, the the evidence for it is the Hindu Vedas. They're ancient. They go back billions of years, as well as the story of Lemuria. It also goes back billions of years. Lemuria / Mu. When part of Lemuria Mu sank, it left a smaller portion of Lemuria Mu, and it basically is known as Mu now, not Lemuria at that point. And peoples moved into South America. I think what we're looking at is the elongated skull, red-headed people in Peru and South America. They were Lemurians, basically. Rh negative. That's where we get the Rh negative genes from. Is that connection that were probably helped along genetically in the lab to be able to procreate with this new species, us, that started inhabiting the world. Maybe the stories of the Sumerians are true, and because there was possibly another race of people here, and the devastation of Saturn coming in caused their planet to become Nibiru, and they needed gold, and they were highly advanced, and probably not as advanced as the Watchers. And they might have had a war or whatever. That's what goes on in Hindu texts and the Vedas. The gods battled, and I mean, there. If you take the time to watch videos that deal with Sumerian texts and that deal with Zecharia Sitchin and Lloyd Pye, and listen to those videos, they make total sense, man. I mean, the scientists, the genetic scientists of today say that we only go back about 150,000, 200,000 years ago. Modern humans, that is. There may have been someone else before us here. Excuse me. There may have been someone else here before us. And this is probably the case. These red-headed humans that are so genetically different than us that, pregnancies have problems with trying to reject the baby because it's Rh negative. There's all kinds of ties that tie everything together, man. I mean, if you have the ability to reason, you can put two and two together, and you'll have an epiphany like I had, or similar like I had. I mean, from all of these texts saying, there was somebody before here, and like, there's so many stories of ancient race and elder race, and that aliens just have to be. I mean, there's American Indians in Noah's flood time. They say that the sky gods came, gathered them together, brought them below ground to wait out the storm. When it was over, they brought them back up, set them on the ground to carry on. I mean, we don't take these stories as truth, and we should. As the Thunderbolts Project, those 3 videos I mentioned, Remembering the End of the World, Symbols of an Alien Sky, and Thunderbolts of the Gods, they wrote this stuff down, they carved this stuff into rock so that we could see what they saw in the sky. And why wouldn't they do that with their legends and their myths? I don't look at myths as untruths. I look at myths as mostly truth. Maybe a little bit of embellishment here and there, but mostly truth. We have to look at these old ancient texts take them as truth, maybe with a grain of salt, but take them as truths, as a lot of people are starting to figure this out. And it's just the stupidity of the Darwinism scientists that didn't want these stories to come out, for one, And when they did, they poo-pooed them. They just called them myth and said there was nothing to them. They were just fairy tales. But no, I mean, the Sumerians, they wrote down what they saw, what the business transactions, everything. They wrote everything down like we do today. And some of it vanished in the midst of the depths of time, and some of it was saved. A lot of it was saved because it was written down on stone, basically. Clay tablets that, when there was a big fire, destruction or whatever, they were fired, and like a kiln process, and they survived. And it was, if they didn't survive, we would have no clue about the Sumerians. And I mean, the Sumerians say that they come from a place called Arata, and Arata's been found in the Ukraine. It's 22,000 years old, and it's I'll provide the link at the end here for those 3 videos, and the link to Arata in the Ukraine. The Sumerians say that they come from a place called Arata. People think that it's in Iraq. It's not. It's in the Ukraine, and it's the beginning of the Aryan race, one who endeavors to plow a straight line. That's the root word of Aryan. The Aryan race, blue-eyed, blonde-haired people, spread all over Europe, all the way into, and red-headed people as well. So they spread all the way into China. They spread down India, down in Sumeria, down into Egypt, and they brought civilization everywhere they went. They had, back 22,000 years ago, there's evidence of small towns, about 1,500 people. They were doing farming, and they were doing hunting and gathering at that point, but they were maternal, they were more maternally driven in their religions. They allowed female priests, and everybody got along really well, and it was a different time, different way of living, and they spread out everywhere. They brought the knowledge of farming to basically the globe, except for Africa and North America, because North America suffered a huge devastation about 12,800 years ago. I think it's a combination of comets or asteroids breaking up on the North American ice sheet, along with electrical discharges from when the Saturn was captured, and things were starting to move around really badly. You can see that in the videos of what I'm talking about, where the planets are moving around, and we were in a nice calm system while we were going through deep space with Saturn, and when we entered into this system, it was captured by the sun, things became chaotic. Planets were moving around, different bodies were charged differently, and big, huge, massive electric lightning bolts were going between the bodies, carving Valley Marinaris out, and making the Mars's largest volcano is not a volcano. It's an electrical conglomeration. It's shown in the laboratory that an electrical arc sitting in one place will make material larger. It will basically make a large hill. The Grand Canyon in the U.S. is probably gouged out the same time Valley Marinaris was gouged out by an electrical charge between the two bodies, just gouging that out. And the evidence for the electrical nature of the universe is right on the moon. All the craters on it are pretty much rounded There are some square ones. There are some octagonal and hexagonal ones, and um, but those are electrical processes that come in at 90-degree angles and gouge out and leave craters on the edge of craters, and leave craters in lines and straight lines as the body is turning or what have you. Um, you can also see these things on comets and asteroids that in a smaller pattern, but the pattern is there still. The electrical universe predicts a lot of what they're finding even before the probes get there, and NASA's shocked as hell when they find out that, you know, comets aren't comets, they're rocks. They're big rocks, boulders in space. They're not snowy snowballs with a bunch of dirt and dust in them. No, that's not the way it is. Go look at the Electric Universe Thunderbolts project and watch some of their videos about how the universe is electrical, and you will get an eye-opening. It's just amazing. Like the connections that I made just are phenomenal. Like North American Indians, South American Indians, Egyptians point to the Pleiades star system and they say this is where life came from. And I'll be damned if they're not right. I mean, they're 100% right. They've gotten this knowledge obviously when during the last cataclysm, a lot of people were saved, pulled off, pulled, put underground, and saved, and they were in contact with the gods. They lived with them for a little while, obviously, and they asked questions and they were given answers. I'm guessing, and or else how would they know these? How would they be able to tell these stories about, you know, the sky gods saving them, and, you know, life originating from the Pleiades star system? Um, there there's there's more to this story that we're force fed all this bullshit about Darwinism and um, the nature of the universe being mass and gravity driven. Um, it's not correct. I mean, these guys are stuck in a religious type of belief system. Mass and gravity is just a theory. It's never been 100% proven that this is the way it is. It's always been a theory, and there was nothing better at the time, so they latched onto it, and now they're holding on to it for dear life, and until they stop, wake up, and become scientists again, which is being objective, being testing things, testing your hypotheses, and going to, if it's testable in a laboratory, testing it in a laboratory. You can't test these theoretical math problems that they're solving with equations in a laboratory because it's all mathematical. You can put them in a computer generation, but I mean it's like any other computer. You can program it to do what you want it to do. Not program. You can't program it to tell you what the truth is. You have to find that out for yourself. And these people in the Electric Universe, they're looking at their multiple disciplines coming in and looking at the universe and how it is and how it's built from multiple disciplines, not just cosmology, not just astrophysics, not just this, not just that, not just quantum mechanics, not just relativity. They're looking at it from all different directions. The problem with the scientists is they're all compartmental. You know what I'm talking about. They're all stuck in compartments, and they cannot look at another section and make a comment on it without. They just can't do it because of the fact that they're not they're not specialized in another field. But guess what? You're a smart person. You should be able to figure things out. You should be able to listen to people's theories and you know not poo-poo them because they don't fall in your line of thought about the way the universe works. Things are gonna change, and they have to change. And people like you, me, normal people that have the ability to reason and have a decent high IQ, not high IQ, but a decent IQ, will figure this stuff out. And we're not going to be spoon fed the normal line about how things are, because we're smarter than that and we know better. And we can figure these things out for ourselves. But, I mean, I just don't understand why some of these theories are looked at more seriously by these scientists. I think maybe it's because of their jobs around on the line. If they take up any line of inquiry different than the accepted view, but that's not science. That's, what's the word I'm looking for? That's a hierarchy of totalitarianism. That's all I can think about. I mean, it's somebody saying this is the way it is, and that's the way it is. And if you don't follow this, we're going to ruin your life. And it's been done many, many times. The, the, I can't remember the guy's name, but the fellow that held to his guns back in the 50s and said there was a massive flow of water that came over North America, not once but twice, and he gave evidence for it, and he was laughed at and just demoralized to the point where he couldn't do his work properly. And I think at one point they gave him when he was like 90, they gave him a Nobel Prize or something. They gave him a dinner or something, I don't know, but and he said, yeah, all those people that disagreed with me are now dead. I win. And his theory was proven right. And there's like multiple instances of that, and it's got to stop. That shit's got to stop. I mean, it's counterproductive. If you don't like what he's saying, that's fine, but don't like ruin the guy's career, or the person. There's been females that this has happened to too. Another instance was a female archaeologist that was looking at the Clovis people and came up with an outrageous date, and they just said no, it's impossible. Couldn't have occurred. You're wrong. And and she insisted, no, the dates are right, the carbon dating's right, everything's good. And they just shut her down, and they just ruined her career. It's like it's it's a farce, man. And until these people are held accountable, they have to be held accountable for their inability to see the big picture, to inability to be objective. That's a scientist's job first and foremost, is to be objective. And these people aren't. They're sitting behind a desk with 10, 20, 100 people underneath them, and my way, my way is correct. My way is it. You either listen to what I tell you or go away. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't know. I just I get so frustrated at the stupidity of people. Um, then I should. I know that. I mean, love, peace, harmony. It should be top of the list all the time, and you shouldn't let things like that bother you. But sometimes you have to speak up. Sometimes you have to say what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. And if you don't do that, wrong sometimes wins. It's a proven fact. Wrong won't lose all the time. Wrong will win sometimes, and that's the struggle between good and bad that we've always had for as long as we can remember. Um, I think it was a little different when people could connect to the ethereal plane, with the help of power points on the globe. This is what these pyramids are for, and they're for connecting to greater knowledge that the universe holds. That we've been told, like the ethereal plane and the Hindu way of attaining enlightenment and never having to have to recycle into a new body. As you attain enlightenment, you become energy and for all time, and you stay in the electrical energy of the universe, and that's what it is. I mean, the universe is driven by these massive Birkeland currents that run through everywhere, powering the sun, powering the galaxies, powering the universe, powering atoms. I mean, everything is electrical. Everything is electrical. The bonds that hold atoms together are electrical. I mean, that's the strong atomic force. The weak atomic force is gravity. And gravity has been found or stated, some smart guy has figured that gravity is probably about 20 times the speed of light, the effective gravity, that is. Um, but it's the weak atomic force. It's not the strong atomic force. Gravity isn't what holds us to the planet. It's a negative charge that holds us to the planet. And if you go into depth into the electrical universe on the Thunderbolts project, you'll see what I'm talking about. That there's no core, so to speak, in our planet. It's probably thousands of surface, a couple of thousand miles thick, and on the back side of it is a positive charge, and on the outside of it is a negative charge. And if something happens to change that charge, which I think happened with the dinosaurs, because the dinosaurs couldn't have lived on this planet. From some of them, some of the really, really big ones couldn't have lived on the planet just because of the sheer size of them. They would have crushed their bones just over from the sheer size. Their feet and ankles would have been crushed because of the weight. It's been proven in the labs that the scientists have said they couldn't do it. They had to have walked in the water to lessen the weight of these huge animals in their necks. Like a 4,000, 5,000 pound head sticking out, what, 40, 50, 60, 80 yards, 100 yards. You can't lift it up without snapping your neck. I don't care how big your bones are. And that's what the scientists say. just, it's not possible unless it's a less gravity situation. And if the electrical charge is stronger, then it holds us in it, makes it feel like more gravity. It holds us tighter to the earth, and I think that's what's going on there. But anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the talk. I will look for more things to talk about in the next bunch of videos. But again, I'm going to be going back to ancient history and the thing, the thought that we come from the Pleiades star system, and I'm pretty sure that these aliens that are billions of years in advanced technology, more technologically advanced than we are, they built these proto-Saturn systems and they sent them out in all directions, and there has to be life everywhere. And we're going to find out the next devastation that's caused by either the sun or another body coming close to Earth. We will find out. They will come. They will help us, like the Bible says, 1,000 years of prosperity once Jesus returns. Well, Jesus is the Watchers. Jesus died for our sins, and he showed up all kinds of other places on the planet too, not just in Jerusalem. When he passed, they took him up, they reanimated him, they showed him to his disciples, and then they brought him to South America. They taught the Indians there, and then North America, they taught the Indians there. All in China, in India, he was everywhere. He was brought, and he was a teacher for all of humanity, not just the Jews or the Christians. He's got many different names. I just can't think of them all right now. But anyhow, have a good evening, and love, peace, kindness, I hope follow you your entire lives. All right? Bye now.